my channel where I talk about books and bookish things. I'm sorting my shelves out at the moment, so they're all a bit chaotic, and I'm doing loads of wrap-ups, so there's books everywhere. There's books everywhere. That's not a bad thing. I feel comforted being surrounded by piles of books. Don't you? Anyway, this is my favourite of the year, because I can't choose 10 because that's what everyone's doing, because I read 246 books in 2023. I've done the favourite for each month. January. Oh, it's been what is this time between Christmas and New Year, my friends? Betwixtmas. Oh, it feels like one long day, doesn't it? It's crazy. But anyway, these are my favourites from January to February, and at the end I'll do some honourable mentions. But these are my favourite books. January, Legends and Lattes by Travis Poldry. I need to move you back a little bit, I think. There you go. Legends and Lattes by Travis Poldry. Trace Poldry. I also loved Bookshops and Bone Dust. These are special editions for the Broken Binding. Although they did do different, which is a bit, that doesn't bother me because I show them that way, but brilliant. I mean, most people have read this, I would have assumed by now. This is Cozy Fantasy, set in a coffee shop where nobody's ever heard of coffee, with an orc, and it's just brilliant. It's just fun. It's like a hug in a book. Really enjoyed it. Great start to the year, I thought. February, The Miracle Sin by Marcus Hawke. This is also, it should be said, my favourite read of 2023. This is without doubt, the best religious horror I have ever read. And it's fun. It's a chunky boy, but it reads so fast you don't even notice. It's a chosen one. Religious soldiers fighting evil. But it's just incredible. Oh my. It's a complete roller coaster. Complete roller coaster of horror. And you don't know what's coming next. It's absolutely brilliant. This is going to be the first, I think, in a trilogy by Marcus. He's writing the second one now, but I absolutely love this book, and I will be rereading that next year. I absolutely loved it. Read it, my friends. March, The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. This is the first in the Wayfarers series. You're too far away from me now. I'm wondering you can't hear me. Sorry, that's the cat in the background using the litter. A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. This is the first in the Wayfarer series. This is basically Found Family in Space. Each book is slightly different, but this one was my favourite of the four. I'd never read Becky Chambers before. I really enjoyed it. If there's such a thing, it's cosy sci-fi, but great story. Loved all the characters. It was just such a good read. Yeah, so that was March. April, Kin by Keelan Patrick Burke. The best horror book I've read in years. This has a lot of triggers, so please check them. It is, a story of horrendous violence, cannibalism. There's a scene in this that will make you want to bleach your brain. If you know, you know. But it is beautifully written. I love Keelan's writing anyway, but this is a masterpiece, this, as far as I'm concerned. Absolutely loved it. It's one of my favourite horror books ever. So, yeah, that was April. May, A Dark Breed by Patrick McNulty. This was the first in the Monsters and Mayhem series restarted this year. The other two were Avernus Island and The God of the Dead. This was my favourite. It's basically about a family. They have a car crash in the mountains in the snow. Why do these people always insist on going to isolated places when it's the storm? What's wrong with them? But anyway, car crashes. They make their way to what they think is an abandoned cabin, and then they find something in the outbuilding that they help. Bad idea. Grey horror. Really good. Really enjoyed that one. June, The Suffering by MJ Mars. This is a debut. Also a female horror writer. We love those. It's also an indie. And this is basically a seance that goes wrong and calls forth 5 ghosts that have already been banished, and the mayhem and terror they cause. Poe's my favourite. Poe's my favourite ghost. It's a fantastic debut. Fantastic ghost story. July, Allurus. One of the best speculative sci-fis I've ever read. It's told in a dual timeline with a main story, and then the footnotes tell the underlying story. Absolutely exceptional. Matt sent me a copy of this to read. I absolutely loved it. I still think about it. Really, really exceptional. So if you like science fiction. August, episode 13, Craig DeLuey. Never heard of this author until Amy McCall mentioned him. Amy, she's enabling me. They're all enabling me. I've read everything he's written now. This is the first one I read, and it's about paranormal investigators going to a haunted location, and it all goes a bit pear-shaped. It's told through multimedia, through reports and emails and text messages and newspaper reports, and it's just a really, really creepy, mess with your mind, paranormal horror. It's really very good. Thanks, Amy. September, Gideon the Ninth, the first in the Locked Tomb series. I haven't read any of the others yet. I'll get to it. This is techno, punk, sci-fi, fantasy, lesbian necromancers in space. It's brilliant. That's all I'm going to say. If you haven't read it, what's wrong with you? Read it. It's brilliant. If you like sci-fi, if you like fantasy, if you like something a bit off the wall, it's just brilliant. The character, oh, Gideon. I love Gideon. I even like Harrow. But yeah, exceptional. October, A Stroke of the Pen by Sir Terry Pratchett. The Lost Stories. These made me cry and made me laugh and made me smile and made me sad that there's no more. I thought when Sir Terry passed away that was the end of everything anyway, because he famously destroyed any works he had in progress, or told them to after he died. But these were found, stories he wrote when he was a reporter before the Discworld. But you can hear his voice. I can hear you. You can hear his voice in there. Brilliant. Discworld's my comfort series. That's what I would take onto a desert island. But yeah, exceptional book. November, The Gathering by C.J. Tudor. This is an arc. It's out in April 2024. And this is C.J.'s take on vampires. It's basically a small Alaskan town where the vampires are part of society, but not. They're separate. And this is all about generational abuse. It's exceptional horror thriller. Really good. Loved it. And finally, December, Butterscotch by Asia Brito Guerrero. This is a novella. It's one of the best revenge novellas I've ever read. Female main character. This has a lot of triggers. Please check. But the twist at the end, oh my. Brilliant. Exceptional. Asia is also a fairly new indie horror writer. And this is available on KU if you want to read it. Honourable mentions, my loves. Honourable mentions. Just can't fit them all in. I had so many. It was so hard to choose. It was really difficult. And I feel bad that I've forgotten some of them. Anyway, firstly, Babel, which I can't find my copy of. But obviously, everybody knows that book. I thought that was brilliant. And I was very annoyed that I left it so long to actually read it. Bunker Dogs by Gage Greenwood, which is basically vampires at the end of the world. In a bunker when you're trapped. Absolutely fantastic horror. Beta by Sammy Scott. This is AI gone rogue. What would happen if AI realised that if it wasn't there to serve, what is its purpose? This is a truly terrifying vision of the potential of the horror of AI. It's such a good book. This is also the March my indie horror book club pick, and I'm looking forward to reading it again. It's really it makes you think. Do you know what I mean? It's an excellent book. Not gory, but horror. Do you know what I mean? European Halls 1 and 2. This is basically 90s slasher set in a modern city in Europe. First one is set in Brussels and the second one is set in Budapest. Second one comes out in January. The first one is the Indie Horror Book Club February pick. I can't wait to read it again. It's 90s slasher, nostalgia, gruesome, gory, blood-soaked. It's absolutely brilliant. Just finished reading the second one as an ARC, and it is just as good as the first, if not better. I mean, it's just the twist. Oof. Chilly, chilly, chilly. A Werewolf's Diary by Alexandra Nisnero. I just read this as an ARC as well. I got loads of ARCs in December. They all come together, don't they? This is basically about a man who gets turned into a werewolf, and this is his diary. It's told in diary form. About, and involves pack politics and the elders of the werewolf society. There is quite a lot of explicit, you know what I mean by that, right? You know what I mean. Explicit content in this, so please beware of that. But this is an incredible story, really wonderful. I really, really enjoyed it. That's out in January. I, Dracula and You, Dracula, which I can't find my copy of, so I'll put a little picture up here. This is a fictional narrative of the real life of Vlad the Impaler. Beautiful prose, just a gorgeous story, set in the 15th century, and you can feel the 15th century. Just stunning. There's another one out next year. I think it's I don't know what the one's called. You, maybe Me, Dracula, might be. I don't know. So that's out next year, but it's a trilogy, but brilliant books. Travelling Monsters by S.A. Lunamere. This is also cozy fantasy. There's trolls. There's a woman who can see the other world. There's mystical lands adjacent, running parallel to our own, all set in Europe. There's fae, elves, mermaids, all sorts of creatures. It's brilliant. It's absolutely lovely. Really cozy fantasy. So that's my very quick top 12 and honourable mentions. It was really hard to choose. I need to be more proactive next year in keeping a record of my favourite for the month, because I had to basically scour the whole of my Goodreads and my Storygraph and see which ones I'd given 5 stars to, and then decide which ones I was gonna. And I had a couple of 5-star reads every month, so yeah, it was very difficult. But anyway, let me know what your favourite is of the year. What's your favourite book of the year? Mine is The Miracle Sin, which I can't reach. Oh, I can. This is my favourite book of the year. I can't wait to reread it. I absolutely loved it. Read it, my friends. Read it. You won't be disappointed. Take care, my darlings. Bye.